90.3 WHPC, winner of 4 big 2024 awards from the Intercollegiate Broadcasting System, including
the 2024 IBS winner for Best Community College Radio Station goes to Nassau Community.
Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC.
WHPC HD Garden City.
Available by saying, play WHPC to your smart speaker.
Hey, Willie, go get it. What do you mean, go get it? Man, that ball's way in left field. I don't care what field it's in. Willie plays all fields. Every time we come to the game, you talking about Willie plays all the fields. That's right. Let's call Willie and ask him. Call him. Okay, hey, Willie.
Yes.
Are you Willie Mays?
Yes.
Whose ball was that?
Why was it?
In left field.
Well, that's Irvin's ball.
I told you that. Every time we come to the game, we got to talk about it. The next time I'm going to sit in the grandstand.
Hey, fellas, what's your name?
Say who? Say Willie. Say hey. Say who? Swinging at the plate. Say hey. Say who?
90.3 WHPC, the voice of Nassau Community College. Remembering Willie Mays, who passed away last week. I was going to play Willie, Mickey, and the Duke.
No, it's better.
But this I found, this is in the Michael Tamburi or Michael Anthony pile of songs, but it rocks pretty good for its time. By the way, when he says Irvin, it's Monty Irvin.
Monty Irvin, yes.
For those that maybe not know. Anyway, he passed away this past week. Truly one of the greatest players ever to play.
Maybe the greatest.
Maybe. It depends. You say Henry Aaron, man, and it's tough to go against him, but it's also Babe Ruth, because Babe was a pitcher and he was a great hitter and a great pitcher. So
well, that means you're putting Shohei Ohtani second.
Yeah, well, So anyway,
that's a hard one. That's a hard sell.
It's sad that he had to play in Candlestick Park for most of his career.
Why?
Because it was so windy, and how many more home runs could have he hit? Then again, in
a lot of the parks back then were deep, brother.
Then again, look at if the Giants had stayed at the Polo Grounds, the 483 feet.
I was going to say, look where he was when he caught that ball from Vic Wertz.
Yeah, he was.
That's a bomb, and it wasn't a home run.
He always said he knew he was going to catch it because he knew how deep the stadium went. So, but then again, maybe they would have built a new stadium.
No, they definitely would have built a new stadium.
Because Shea Stadium was in the plans already.
It was so new and modern back then.
It was. Shea Stadium was modern at the time.
Soiled.
But anyway, I have a Willie Mays story, brother.
Go ahead, brother. Go ahead.
First of all, I read he didn't write a book, but he sat down for an interview, and I forgot the guy who wrote it. And it's a very good book about his life, which he approved of the book. So,
okay.
But I forgot the name of it because I couldn't find it this weekend. But if you remember in '72, Joan Payson, who owned the Mets, and
the grand dame of the Mets.
Let's put it this way: if she had lived, Tom Seaver's never traded. We know that for a fact.
Oh, go ahead.
Anyway, so she brings Willie Mays back to New York for Charlie Williams and someone else. I was all excited because it's Willie Mays.
Didn't matter who she gave up.
No.
Got to bring Willie home.
I was so excited when they got Willie Mays because I was like, it's Willie Mays. Even at 9 years old, I know who Willie Mays is. And I was all excited. And then
at that point, Willie was what, like 39 or something?
40.
Yeah, I mean, he was old.
His knees were shot. We didn't know that. I didn't know that. So anyway, we're at Grandma and Grandpa's.
Mm-hmm.
I remember watching the game with Grandpa, and he hits a home run in the game. It was kind of a cloudy day, if I remember right. Rain, maybe misting. And if you remember where Grandma and Grandpa lived, you can see Shea Stadium.
It was Flushing, New York.
It was right. If they were on the 11th floor,
probably could have walked there.
Well, maybe.
If we were a little older.
Yeah. But you can see Shea. So there was a special connection that day, watching that home run and then looking out to Shea Stadium, at least for me. And of course, he didn't have many other homers after that as a Met.
Because he was 40.
Yeah, and he was basically shot. But in the World Series, I believe it was Buddy Harrelson who got tagged out, and Willie's flipping out over because, if you look back at it, Buddy Harrelson was not tagged. And he's flipping out on it. And that was, his last real
And wasn't Willie
appearance.
at the plate when Harrelson came in and he was telling him which way to slide?
Yeah.
Willie never stopped playing.
No, so part of the reason he came back is that the Mets were supposed to retire his number, and then Joan Payson, didn't do it. But I think they wanted to wait a little bit, and then she died. And that's why.
Why would they retire his number?
It was
he didn't play for the Mets,
right? But it was partly because of more of a New York thing. He was a New York Giant for those 6-7 years.
Yeah, but the San Francisco Giants retired his number. That was his team.
Yeah, I know, but it's a New York thing.
Oh, okay, so.
And Joan Payson was cool enough to say it, but then she dies, and then the F team takes over, and we have a bad 5 years.
As opposed to the A team, you're saying, bro?
Yeah, Well, Joan Payson knew something about baseball, at least.
She was a fan. She was a big fan.
She loved baseball.
She knew the game.
So that day when Willie Mays hit that home run was like, I still remember it. And then I saw a clip of it. There is clips. Someone saved the clip of when he hit the home run. So
can you see Grandma and Grandpa's building in the background?
No, not at all.
Figured I'd ask.
No. So anyway, that's my memory of Willie Mays. Truly one of the greats. And if he didn't go to the armed forces, the draft for a year and a half, we're talking maybe 50 more home runs. Maybe.
Possible. He was very young when he went into the military.
Right,
but he came back, and at 23 he won an MVP. So,
right. So
to say 50, it's not out of the question for sure.
For a year and a half, I think so. So anyway, let's talk about what's going on in the world. You know what, brother? Since we're talking about Willie Mays, let's talk about something that I saw the clip, and I was shocked at that.
I saw while I was going on live, bro. I called you and I said, "Turn on." And
I was sleeping.
Yeah, and it was like, "Oh, yeah, I'll watch it later." Yeah. And right after that, Reggie came on.
Yeah, and
Reggie
at Rickwood Field, he tells a horrible story of true racism, especially down the South. This is like a year or two after the Civil Rights Act is passed and the Voting Rights Act is passed, but it was
close to 20 years after Jackie Robinson broke the color barrier.
Right, but we're talking about certain parts of the country which might have been a little behind times.
I think that people, when people look back and they see Jackie Robinson broke the color barrier, I don't think people understand, or a lot of people don't understand, that it didn't change society. And Jackie Robinson put up with a lot of crap while he was playing.
Well, it did change society, but it takes time because there are people who are still going to hate.
Right.
And that's part of the deal.
But that's what I'm saying. I mean,
the fact that Jackie Robinson gets put into Major League Baseball, then Larry Doby, and then a lot of other people, doesn't change a lot of people's use of the word, the N-word, which I hate saying, but if I say the word, people will get angry with me. But Reggie used it, and you know what? They didn't.
Somebody was in his ear because he said it twice,
right?
And then the third time he went to say it, he said N-word.
Yeah, okay, maybe.
So somebody was in his ear. I'm sure he had an earpiece in.
But you know what? But that's the word.
And somebody probably said, Reggie, can you please stop saying that word, please?
But you know what? That's the word that was used. And I'm
I'm sure several thousand times.
Right, and I don't use that word, but you know what? When you say the N-word, we know what you're talking about. It's actually, I think, an insult because then it takes away the fact that people use the word.
I think that the less that word is said, the better. So that's my own personal philosophy.
Tell that to the rappers.
But when Reggie came on to the broadcast the other night, it was Wednesday night, Giants playing the Cardinals, and the broadcast was this whole, halcyon days of baseball and tribute to Willie Mays, and he was supposed to be here, and this whole game was planned with him in mind because he played for the Birmingham Black Barons when he was 17 or 18 years old.
Right.
And he was an Alabama kid, and they made it sound like it was this wonderful thing. And then Reggie Jackson came on and dropped a bomb on the broadcast. And I thought it was phenomenal because here comes reality. And let's face it, Reggie ain't exactly known for reality. Reggie's known for the magnitude of me, and I'm a straw that stirs a drink. Reggie's got his own view of things. But
Reggie's also looked at differently too, brother. It's like I remember in the Naked Gun movie. Remember they say, "Hey, they hit Reggie. Come on, let's fight," because Reggie was hit.
Yeah. Well,
so, but that's what you always expect out of Reggie Jackson, because people support him and and stuff
some
like
do.
that. Well,
some do. I mean, let's face it. There's a word in Bill White's book. He uses the word uppity. And that was a word that was used to describe a lot of black players back in the day.
That's right.
Reggie was one of those players that some people of a certain mindset would say, "Oh, look at Reggie, he's an uppity."
Right.
So, but he comes onto the broadcast, and they're talking about, "Oh, Reggie, you played minor league ball here, and what kind of great time did you have playing at Rickwood Field?" And Reggie's like, "Wouldn't have wished it on my worst enemy."
Yeah.
And A-Rod asked him the question, and Reggie or A-Rod was not ready for the bomb that Reggie was going to drop on him with that answer, because it was an innocent question. It was a softball question, and here comes Reggie.
Right.
Wouldn't wish it on my worst enemy.
Because they're celebrating playing in Rickwood and the history of that stadium. It's I think it's one of the oldest stadiums still around. It's even older than like Wrigley Field or Fenway. So,
but Reggie. He expressed himself. I thought beautifully.
I did too.
Because A-Rod said, "How did it feel coming back to Rickwood?" And Reggie said, and I'll read the quote: "Coming back here is not easy. The racism when I played here, the difficulty of going through different places where we traveled. Fortunately, I had a manager, and I had players on the team that helped me get through it. But I wouldn't wish it on anybody." And I'm not going to go through the whole N-word stuff, but he basically talked about restaurants that wouldn't allow him to eat there, and said it very bluntly and directly, using the N-word to say, he can't eat here, or they go to a hotel and there would be the N-word, he can't stay here. And the Athletics and Charlie Finley, my pal Charlie Finley,
right?
Apparently they had Apparently, Finley is an Alabama native, which I didn't even know.
I didn't know that either.
But apparently he had a country club, and they were going to have a welcome home dinner for the team, and the country club people were like, "No, he can't come in."
Nope.
So Finley it's like, "Screw you guys, I'm going home. We're out of here." And fortunately for Reggie, he had people in his corner, and that includes John McNamara, the manager who later became the Red Sox manager and helped the Yankees win the 2003 American League Championship Series.
Of course.
With his wonder. Oh, actually, no, it wasn't him. That's Grady Little. My bad.
86.
Yes, 86.
The Mets.
But, because Finley was a progressive-minded owner, because McNamara was a progressive-minded human being, and because his teammates, and he named Raleigh Fingers, Dave Duncan, Joe Rudy, and Joe Rudy's wife Sharon.
Right.
He was like sleeping on their couches,
and then
because he couldn't get an apartment.
And they also said that the place was threatened to be blown up if he
burned down. Yeah,
burned down.
But it was, this was the whole broadcast. They wanted it to be feel good,
right?
And Reggie brought the reality.
I agree.
Yes, there's stuff to be celebrated, but there's also a lot of stuff that went on that, number one, we shouldn't forget happened, because it did happen. It still happens. And number two, that you can't look back at history and just kind of ignore the bad parts and just kind of sugarcoat everything and say, "Oh, this was so wonderful. It was what a great time in America."
It wasn't.
It wasn't.
It was, I agree, and thank God Reggie talked that way. He brought reality to a night that there was almost too good of a feeling. Especially they're celebrating Willie Mays' life because he had just died. Also, a couple of weeks ago,
they were going to celebrate him anyway. I mean, it was a sad, unfortunate fact that he died a couple of days. They actually wanted him at the game,
right?
And they were going to celebrate his career, preferably with an alive Willie Mays throwing out the first pitch,
right.
Or he would have been on the broadcast at some point. Who knows if Willie Mays what Willie would have said about Rickwood and playing there at the time? Because I'm sure he dealt with the same stuff Reggie did.
I'm sure he did, even though
probably worse.
He played it differently than others. So, and also the thing a couple of weeks ago, this is all connected. The Major League Baseball people said we're going to include the Negro Leagues as part of our Hall of Fame stats type of thing, and. I hope people don't have to realize that those stats, it wasn't all happy. how those stats happened. Because the Negro Leagues had a lot of discrimination against them. They didn't sometimes play in the best stadiums. They did a lot of barnstorming because that's where they made their money.
Right.
They didn't have a lot of coverage in the white newspapers and maybe in the
almost none.
Yeah. So so it's all kind of connected. Then you have Reggie saying, "Hey, there was a lot of racism still in 1966 and 67."
Absolutely. And that's, that was, I mean, like I say, it's 20 years after Jackie Robinson.
Right.
But so much of the stuff that was happening
it was still
when Jackie broke the color barrier, it was still happening.
Yeah.
It wasn't like it all just went away. It was still very prevalent in society.
Yep. And
so that's why I was glad when Reggie dropped that truth bomb on everybody.
yeah, it was good.
I mean, I'm sorry he had to go through it and experience it and have to deal with all that crap and have to basically relive it. Like I said, they brought him back because he had played in Birmingham.
Right.
And then he comes on and says, "Yeah, probably one of the worst years of my life."
Yeah, and he even said, "I would not wish this on anyone."
Yeah.
So anyway,
it was an impressive. Statement, comment, whatever you want to call it, but
it wasn't supposed to be.
No, and I'm glad they let him talk too. I mean, they could have cut him off and just like asked another question and gotten the thing in a different direction. But somebody was there and said, "This is riveting and this is great stuff." But, even though he's like,
but the next day when people like me saw the clip, the first time I saw the clip, they left Reggie saying the N-word.
Right,
but there were other clips from other major news sources that cut it out.
I'm sure they did because
there's no reason.
Well,
there's no reason.
I don't know. I mean,
there's no reason.
Some places will have a blanket.
Yeah, I know. That's
editing where they say, "All right, we don't want anybody saying this word," and I don't have a problem with that. I do
because
I think that word should be said as little as possible.
I
like
agree,
I said.
but you know what? If it's being used to someone like Reggie, then it means more than if you just say it.
I get what you're saying.
So that
I get what you're saying.
It's like if you ever watch Blazing Saddles now. There's a lot of editing.
Of course there is.
Not necessary.
Movie would not be made today.
It would be made.
It would be a lot different than what it was.
No, it wouldn't.
Yeah,
I think it would just be different. People would react faster to, "Oh my God, I can't believe they did that."
Yeah, people would be horrified. That's why it wouldn't be made.
But the people who used that word in the movie were the bad guys. And that's something
I don't know
if
that makes that much of a difference.
No, it just shows that the name, the word really shouldn't be used.
That's what I said.
That bad guys use it. Anyway, let's talk about the Mets, brother. The Grimace era still continues.
Oh God, I'm already sick of the Grimace era. Brother.
Why?
Because it's tired already.
Why?
It is tired.
The Mets are 13-4 in the last 17 games.
I know.
Brother.
I know.
Isn't that
I actually
incredible?
looked at this. You know what? Here's what, and I certainly am not here to rain on the Mets parade. Because I think what the Mets have been doing in the last few weeks, I'll even say 3 weeks, I'll even go back a little further. Since June started, the Mets have been phenomenal. They've been, if not the best team in baseball, then they're one of the best teams in baseball. But here's the facts, and I'm dropping a truth bomb, almost like Reggie here. The Mets are 37-39.
They're still under 500.
They're still not good.
No.
All right? So
that's how bad they were.
But that's what I'm saying. April and May were disasters.
They were.
So here we are. The Mets are playing some of the best baseball in the major leagues for more than 2 weeks, pretty much 3 weeks, and they're still under 500.
Yep.
I mean, come on. Yeah, are they playing well? Yes. Are a lot of things going right for them right now? Yes. Has the pitching been incredible? Surprisingly incredible?
Yes.
Yes, it has been. So good for the Mets. I'm happy that they're getting back into it. Maybe they won't be sellers at the trade deadline. Who knows? But
I think right now, if they continue this into July, they're not trading.
Well, I mean, right now,
Pete Alonso's
but
supposed to
are they
stay.
going to? I mean, they're playing like 750 baseball.
Right.
That's not sustainable.
No, it's not. And the sad part is, brother, I'm looking at the standings right now. The Atlanta Braves have been 8-2 in their last 10.
Yeah.
So
that means the Mets really aren't catching up to the Braves that much.
No.
So the Braves are playing well, and then the Nationals
are 6-4 in the last 10.
Before this past week, the Nationals were just as hot as the Mets were.
Yep.
So basically, the entire National League East, except for the Marlins, is playing hot baseball right now.
So it's which is good for the Mets because at least they're staying even with what's going on.
Any win helps because when you're talking wild cards, I mean, let's face it, they're not catching the Phillies. Nobody's catching the Phillies in that division.
not right
The Braves off for everything I said last year about the Braves offense and how incredible it was, and how they had all these guys signed to long-term deals. I don't know what the hell happened to the Braves this year. They're awful. And you can say that, yeah, look at their record, they're pretty good, whatever. They're not good.
They're not dominant.
They haven't been. Yeah, did they beat the Yankees in a series last week? Yeah, they did. Good for them. But let's face it, up until a week or so ago, the Braves were barely above 500.
Yeah.
So, and losing Acuna doesn't help that team at all. So now you're looking at guys, Ozzie Albies having a mediocre season. Matt Olson just woke up. You're talking about all of their offense is just they're not hitting. So the whole point for that team last year, and the reason why they were so good, was because they hit. They beat teams into submission, and that was why they were as good as they were last season. So, anyway, that I don't want to talk too much about the Braves, but the Mets, they're playing well. They're going to need to keep going for at least another couple of weeks.
Definitely.
So from that standpoint, that's the issue I'm talking about. Yes, 13-4 in 17 games is great. There's no other way around it. It's great.
We love it.
But if they follow that up by going 3-7 in the next 10. That's what happened to the Mets last year. They would have a little hot streak, and then they would do exactly the opposite. In fact, the Yankees did that last year too. But it was like, hey, let's win 5 out of 6 or whatever one week, and then the next week we're going 1-5, and it's like, all right, well, you're a 500 team. That's plain and simple. That's what it is.
I agree. We have Hank from Seaford on the phone with us. Hank, how we doing? How are things in Seaford today?
What's up, Hank?
All right. Very good. I've been trying to call in the last 2 weeks, but I think, maybe you weren't taking calls last week and the week before. But
the week before we had John Belaney on for the last half hour, so we couldn't take any calls.
Yeah. Well, actually, he's going to be one of my comments. I got 3 quick comments. I actually watched the Reggie documentary over the winter, and I thought he came across as a jerk. And then I watched the interview, like what you guys were opening with, and I was like, that guy, he hit a home run, and I thought he did really well, and your commentary was on spot. I was just, I don't know if you guys commented on it, but towards the end, remember when A-Rod gave him like a little man hug, a little pat on the shoulder? I hope that was sincere.
A-Rod tends to make everything uncomfortable.
A-Rod tries to always prove that he's like, caring and hip. But
A-Rod is kind of like Reggie was. I mean, he was like the new, it's like Aaron Judge is the new Jeter, because like their mannerism, pretty much everything they do is almost in lockstep. And A-Rod is almost the Reggie, because he talks about himself a lot. He kind of tends to make things uncomfortable. There's a lot of similarities between A-Rod and Reggie.
One thing I'll give A-Rod and Reggie, they know their baseball.
Oh, yeah.
That's
both of them, absolutely.
You want to listen to them talk about baseball.
Students of the game, for sure.
They know their baseball.
Yeah, I've always liked A-Rod, so I'm not like an anti-A-Rod guy, but I just, when he kind of went over with the hug and the pat on, I was like, I don't know. But anyway, who am I to judge,
Well, in terms of the Reggie documentary, I'm gonna say first off, I haven't seen it. But it doesn't surprise me that Reggie sounded like a jerk, because Reggie, when he talks about himself, let's face it, the guy's got an ego. But that being said, he hit 560 something home runs. You're entitled to an ego.
Yeah.
Reggie he carried it a little far. I mean, and the other thing that bothers me, he claims he never said he was a straw that stirs the drink. He did. I've heard the tape from the reporter who wrote the story. He absolutely said it.
Daily News cover that has him saying that.
That's so the fact that he came out after the fact and said, "Oh, I never said that." No, Reggie, you did. Yeah. So that's the part I have a problem with. I always liked Reggie. I still don't think his number should be retired by the Yankees. I mean, he basically played not even 5 seasons for them.
Yep.
I have a problem with that aspect of it. But was he one of the great players in baseball history? Absolutely. Was he one of the biggest personalities in baseball history? Absolutely. So
Mr. October.
exactly. I mean,
that's like that follows him around, man, and he's not going to let you forget it either.
he came up big in big situations.
He by the way, brother, he had 563 home runs.
There you go. I said 560.
So I always liked Reggie. I agree with Timmy that his number shouldn't have been retired, but that was a George Steinbrenner apology type of thing. And if you're going to have a Ring of Honor, then Reggie belongs in there for the Yankees.
For sure.
But it's number 44, so it's out of the range of what most people play with. So
a pitcher could be using that number.
But I always liked Reggie. I mean, I have his book that he co-wrote with, or Lupa co-wrote with him. And then I think there was a second book too.
It was never boring with Reggie.
Yeah,
plain and simple. I don't know that he necessarily wanted to stir things up all the time, because a lot of times when he did stir things up, it all got turned back around on him, and all of a sudden it was like, oh, what did I start?
Right, and you know what the other thing I like about Reggie? He's a car collector. He had like 30 cars, man. Then they all burned or something, or some of them burned in a fire out in Oakland. So
So another comment. It's actually about your guest 2 weeks ago,
John Valenti.
And I don't want to beat up the guest or anything. He sounded like a nice guy. Maybe he's your friend, but if he was attempting to offer a defense, why to merge the statistics? I don't think he really offered a good defense. In fact, I think Rob actually pressed him, gently in a nice way, and he's like, well, it's a hobby. I got some Negro jerseys, and I got some Negro books, and I think it's overdue. And listen, baseball is kind of a purist, statistical type thing. Back when I was in third grade, and I knew more about the Mets and the Yankee stats than I knew about math and American history.
Right.
And I don't want it, and believe me, it's not racial at all, because my name's Hank. My favorite baseball player was Hank Aaron. I met Willie Mays. I got his autograph. I mean, these were my heroes. It's just I don't felt like the guest made like a real defense. And
it's hard to make the defense on that, just because I mean I think I'm pretty sure I said it 2 weeks ago when we spoke with him. My issue with it was that the Negro League players didn't play against the quote-unquote major league players. Now, were there lots of Negro League players that should have been in major leagues and could have been in the major leagues? Absolutely.
Yeah.
But the issue then becomes, were their numbers in some way watered down? Well, you could make the opposite. You could make the same argument for the major leagues. Were their stats watered down because the stars of the Negro Leagues weren't part of the game? So you could make that argument from both sides. But my issue also with the Negro Leagues is the record keeping was just abominable.
Yeah,
and I mean, they claim that they have researched everything and everything has been, they're not just saying, well, he probably would have gotten this many hits, or, they're saying that there's no guesswork involved. But it's a fact that there were lots of games that were played where there's no record at all.
Right, and the other thing, Hank, and I mentioned this to John, and we should say John Valenti, who writes for Newsday, is an expert on the Negro Leagues.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we're not taking away his thing, and
he's got the credentials.
He's got the credentials.
That's why we had him on the show.
We had him on. He posted this long thing on Facebook, and Timmy knows John, so it was easy to get him on. But my thing about it is that the Negro Leagues played about 75 games a season, then did a lot of barnstorming, because that's where they made their money. So 75 games, your records are going to be different than if you played 154. Now, am I saying that these players shouldn't be recognized? No, I think they should be. That's what the Hall of Fame is for, and a lot of these players should be in the Hall of Fame. Josh Gibson, obviously, but he only played 75 games a season in organized baseball, so that takes away, I think, from his records. That doesn't mean the record shouldn't be part of something. Because, you don't put in let's say you're in the minor leagues, you don't include your minor league records as part of your major league records. It's the Major League Baseball. But, I know why Major League Baseball did this. They wanted to, make things a little more equal, even, make up for something that happened 50 years ago. But at the same time, or 70 years ago, it doesn't change what happened 70 years. Reggie saying what he said reminds people,
I
hey,
agree with everything. Yeah.
This wasn't something that, hey, we went through this, but hey, I wouldn't want to do it again ever. I wouldn't want it on my worst enemy. So, there's a lot of things going on there. I know why they did it. I don't agree with it, and in many ways, but that doesn't mean we shouldn't recognize these players. So that's what the Hall of Fame is for. That's what things like that are for.
No, I absolutely agree with that. There needs to be recognition. Hall of Fame. Even their statistic is just they just shouldn't be merged. And I'll leave it at that. And pivoting to the third point, I'm sure you guys are going to talk about it, but I read something interesting on the internet, and I don't always believe this stuff, but Oilers and Panthers.
Yeah, we're going to be talking about it.
Well, I read something that the last 5 or 6 teams that won the Stanley Cup, whoever had it was the team that had the most Canadian.
Most Canadians,
players.
yes, that is a fact.
Okay, all right, good. So I'm glad you're my fact checkers, and the Oilers have more Canadian players. So I mean, I wouldn't bet the ranch on it, but who do you think? Well, they're playing in Edmonton, but what do you think's going to win?
We're going to talk about it in a couple of minutes, probably in the second half. Well, actually, we're almost to the second half of the show. But okay. I mean, I saw the same stat, and I remembered thinking about it after Florida took the 3-0 lead. Say, well, I guess that stat got a kick in the ass, but here we are at Game 7. So, it's kind of, I don't want to put too much into it because stuff like that, first of all, small sample size. Secondly, who comes up with this stuff? It's like somebody kind of reached back for the last 5 or 6 years and said, oh, look at this little, kind of unusual fact that happens to be factual. It's just one of those things. It's like a weird stat that it's like, oh, okay, well, yeah, Canadians. Okay, yeah, that sounds good.
Most teams have mostly Canadian players anyway, but
well, I mean, not so much anymore. I mean, right now it's Canadians, it's Americans, and it's Russians for the most part, and you have some Slovakians and whatever. But those 3 groups comprise, I would say, probably at least 90% of the NHL. So. How much of that is Canadian? I mean, certainly it's not as much as it was like back in the 80s or so when the league was probably 90% Canadian. But nowadays, I'd say probably the league is at least 50% Canadian. And that shows how much improvement the United States has made, and it also allows for how many Russians are now playing in the league, whereas, before 1980 or whatever it was that... who was it? Fetisov, I think it was, came over to the Devils, and I hate to say it, Lou Lamoriello, I think was the guy that signed them. How old is he? But that was also a big game changer for the National Hockey League. So from that, I mean, Canadians are always going to be the backbone of the NHL.
Yes,
but and I'll be honest, I would love to see the Edmonton Oilers win, just because there hasn't been a Stanley Cup in Canada for like 30 some years.
Yeah.
Because and big part of that was when the dollar was crushing the Canadian dollar, the American dollar crushing the Canadian dollar, and Canadian teams couldn't afford to put competitive teams together because it was just a financial advantage.
That's why
was
Wayne
a joke.
Gretzky went to the Kings.
Exactly. So that was the issue. Now that the dollars are similar values these days. Canadian teams have been much better in recent years. I would certainly like to see it, but I'd be happy if either team wins. I just want to see a good game.
Hank, I have one more question for you. I know you collect things like us, and one thing I would love to see happen, and I think this happened years ago, but it's time to do it again, is to create baseball cards out of these great Negro League players, even the ones who weren't very famous. And, baseball.
Was a great player. Nobody knows his name. Oscar Chamberlain.
Yeah.
Great player. And I've only found out about this guy recently.
Right. So, to me, that would be something for Topps or whoever's doing baseball cards now would be.
And actually, I'm going to look into that because I collect non-sport cards. I collect sport cards. I collect, like Marvel and DC, like the Flash and Superman.
Right.
And you can find just about anything on eBay. And I'll just check out. Hey, has anybody printed up some?
I know they
Major League
did it
cards?
years ago because I had a pack and I bought a pack, but I don't know how many cards they did, but that would be something to do. And one thing I have to say about this whole records thing happening, where they're merging the records, is for the first time in a really long time, I actually did some research on the Negro Leagues. To see what was. And one of the things I found out was that it wasn't a continuous league many times. It would break up, and then it would start the next season with other owners. So
sounds like the Arena Football League.
Yeah, it sounds like the Arena Football League. So, but to me, if someone were to say, hey, we're going to put some baseball cards out there, and don't have it, maybe you put them in with the regular cards, or you maybe allow a whole series, the whole, a year, like you pick a year, 1942 or something. Okay, here's
2027. Make it like a 60th anniversary.
Yeah, you do that,
and
but then you put in, your different cards. Josh Gibson and Turkey, whatever Turkey.
I think that's cool. In fact, your guest said that he had some jerseys. I think that's really cool because, listen, I actually, I have a Brooklyn Dodgers cap, and I can't tell you how many people are weird. They're like, oh, you like the Boston Red Sox? And I'm like, no, this is the Brooklyn Dodgers, man.
Yeah.
Just because it's
freaking hat is blue.
So, yeah, I know. Listen, I'm all for recognition, jersey buying, caps, all of that. It's just, keep the stats. Let whatever.
Well, the thing about keeping the stats separate is it recognizes that it was a separate league and should be remembered in its own way. If by merging it, I think it actually takes away a little bit of the history. But anyway, Hank, we want to thank you for calling in, and we always appreciate when you call in. Thanks a lot, man. Take care.
Thanks, Hank. Great conversation. Have a great day.
You too, man. Bye-bye. 516-572-7440. That's the number to call if you'd like to make a comment or have a question. This is from the Press Box. I am Rob Leonard. He is Tim Leonard. We're going to take a break. We'll be back right after this.
This show on 90.3 WHPC is brought to you by UBS Arena at Belmont Park, who welcomes All Elite Wrestling, and New Japan Pro Wrestling presents Forbidden Door on Sunday, June 30th. More information is available online at ubsarena.com.
90.3 WHPC. Your WHPC weather forecast powered by Pantano's Gourmet with locations in Hewlett and Uniondale. It's going to be a pretty nice day, actually, today. It's not going to be as hot as it was yesterday or tomorrow. Today it's going to be partly cloudy. It's going to be windy later in the afternoon, which is not a bad thing. High about 82. Tonight, it's going to be cloudy. Low about 70. On the overnight, it's going to be clear. Low about 68. Current temperature outside the studios here at Nassau Community College, it's 81 degrees. My name is Rob Leonard. He is Tim Leonard. This is From the Press Box here every Monday, 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. It becomes a podcast later on wherever you find your podcasts. And we want to talk about the Panthers. And
Tonight's what doesn't matter, brother. You know why? Because I'll be inside watching Game 7.
Of the NHL.
I'm not going to be outside.
Okay. Yeah. We'll talk about the NHL.
The two most beautiful words in sports, brother. Game 7.
Yep.
Love those two words.
I like them too, and
Surprised we're here though.
I am too because the Panthers played so well in the first 3 games,
really well,
and that's not a bad thing.
But the Edmonton Oilers have played spectacularly in the last 3 games. They've not only beaten the Panthers, they have destroyed them in every game.
Yep.
And in Game 6, 5-1, just shocking, really. Not well. At home, I expected them to win at home. But here's the thing. Looked like the Panthers were going to walk all over the Oilers in the first 3 games. Win, go to Edmonton, win Game 3.
Yep.
I was like, okay, this is over. 3-0. So is it going to be 4 or 5? Then the Panthers found out how hard it is to get that 4th win. Yeah. That's the hardest win in sports right there. And then the Oilers win the game 8-1 in Game 4. Connor McDavid, 4 points. Then Connor McDavid in Game 5, another 4 points. Then Game 6, the shocking part of Game 6. Not only did Connor McDavid, who's the best player in hockey, who apparently in Edmonton they call him McJesus. which it's got to be blasphemous on some level. Not only did he not have a point in a game that the Oilers desperately needed to win, he didn't have a shot on goal.
Right.
This was the first game since Connor McDavid came to the Oilers that they won a game that he did not have a point or a shot. First time in history, in the Oilers' history. So that was a huge win for them. Now the Oilers find out how hard it is to win that fourth game. So we have both teams. Obviously, the game is massive because whoever wins, that's it. I mean, the series has to end tonight. There is no game 8. There is no game 9. So
imagine if there were. Oh, this is a series that deserves it.
I mean, could imagine if you had you could take a fan vote. Hey, would you like to see 2 more games? It would be 92% yes, 8% no.
Yep, definitely.
And no trolls would be like the Vancouver Canucks fans or somebody oh no, we don't want to see Edmonton anymore.
Yeah. Hey, they take it serious up in Canada between
big time.
the Canadian teams. It's Montreal and then everyone else.
Pretty much. Well, Toronto too. Toronto
and Montreal hate each other.
But the Toronto fans are crazy.
Yeah, they are.
The Oilers have become the third team to tie the finals, Stanley Cup Finals, after falling behind 3-0 in a series, and the first since the Detroit Red Wings in 1945.
Yep.
This is how far back this history is going with what the Oilers have been able to do. The 1942 Toronto Maple Leafs are the only NHL team to come back from a 3-0 deficit to win the Stanley Cup in the Stanley Cup Finals.
Do you remember in '75 when the Islanders were down 3-0?
Yeah, I guess
and the games were on NBC, and there was a sign in the upper deck of the Coliseum, and it said Toronto 1942.
There you go.
And they had to look it up.
Islander fans know their history. They know better than the TV people. I'll tell you that.
And the Islanders came back.
There you go. But I mean, I'm really looking forward to tonight's game. And to be honest, I don't even know if I'm going to be able to watch that much because I have to be up at 4 o'clock in the morning.
Right, but it's yeah. Well, it's not a bad thing. Is Messier going to be covering that game?
Probably.
Because he's been doing different things with TNT, and I'm wondering if they're there. Messier, as much as he is a Ranger for life. Edmonton still loves him. So
of course they do. He won them Stanley Cups.
Right. So He still has a tie there, too. So we'll see what happens.
Well, 8 o'clock, ESPN. ABC. ABC, my bad.
Yeah. So anyway, brother.
Looking forward to it.
Yeah, it's going to be a great.
Should be fun. Hopefully, one team doesn't go ahead 4-0 in the first period because I would like to see end-to-end. I mean, wouldn't it be great if you had an overtime? Overtime Game 7 Stanley Cup. Doesn't get any better than that.
It doesn't. They love that stuff, and
I love that stuff.
It's tough, and how do you do overtime? It's almost hey, when the Islanders won in overtime in 1980, it was beautiful.
Beautiful. Exactly.
Anyway, let's talk about the Yankees. Gerrit Cole has returned, and he is pitching well.
He had a good start. He came back. He only pitched 4 innings against the Orioles, gave up 2 runs. And the Orioles actually wound up winning that game 7-6 because the Yankees bullpen has not been very good in recent weeks. And
well, brother, I have to say something.
What? How right I was?
How right you are, because the last couple of weeks, you've been talking about how as much as the Yankees are in first place and they're one of the top teams in baseball,
most wins in baseball,
they are. There's something not right with their pitching.
They're walking a tightrope.
And you mentioned it, and then all this week, that's all I heard on different sports stations and sports shows, that the
I'm ahead of the curve, brother.
Yankees pitching is not what it should be for a team this great.
Well, it's not that it's not what it should be.
Yes, it
but
is.
It's been kind of above, over their heads. They've been overachieving, and when you look at what the Yankees have, especially without Gerrit Cole for the first 2 or 3 months of the season, that's been the issue. Is that yes, have they been phenomenal? Yes, but when you're talking about not having Gerrit Cole and still having the performances that they've had, Luis Gil has been legit Cy Young candidate.
Right,
this kid's a rookie.
Right.
He's coming off Tommy John surgery. He's not supposed to be 9-1 with a spectacular ERA, even after the Orioles pounded him the other day for 7 runs in like an inning and a third. Talk about it, a game that'll mess up your ERA. But that is, that's what we've gotten from him. But heel against the Orioles, they crushed him, and then the next day, Carlos Rodon against the Braves, they crushed him. So, yes, our pitchers are not going to be perfect every time they go out. They're not going to always. It's not going to be always 6 innings, 2 runs, or 7 innings, 3 runs, whatever. But that's what the Yankees have been getting, pretty much. I don't want to say every start, but for a lot of starts, and it's not going to stay that way. And especially now that the bullpen seems like it's not doing well and it's not getting the job done for the last 2 or 3 weeks, that is what I'd like to see. I mean, they got J.D. Davis yesterday. They traded him for a minor leaguer in cash. They got him from the Athletics because that's supposedly going to help out with Stanton getting hurt with the hamstring, and Rizzo breaking his arm against the Red Sox. By the way, I still think the Red Sox reliever kind of threw an elbow at Rizzo. Even though people were telling me I'm crazy, I know what I saw. The guy went.
You hate the Red Sox.
It was very subtle.
Anyway, we have Joe up out in near Albany. Joe, how we doing today? Oh, hold on a second.
Strange.
Joe, how we doing today, man?
Good. I can hear you now. There you go.
Okay, there you go.
Joe.
Long time no speak, boys.
Yeah, what happened? What town are you in again? It's not Albany, but you're near Albany.
Glenmont.
Okay.
Just south of Albany, yeah. Yeah, I was listening to what Tim was just saying about the Yanks. That's what I had commented on a couple of good things, too, but as always. But yeah, I mean, you hit the nail on the head, Tim, from what I was listening to. And, the Fire and Trade Brigade and the Panickers are all doing their thing now.
Yeah, big time. Because they've lost 3 series in a row. And who'd they lose to? The Orioles? I mean, the Red Sox aren't. They're a hot team right now, but they're still not a very good team. And the Braves, who are a good team. So, yeah, they played some good teams, and they haven't done so well. But you know what? They still have the most wins in baseball. They're still one of the best teams in baseball.
Yeah, oh yeah. Some of these stopgap things they're doing now are just that. These guys are picking up now. I don't think they're meant for the big fix there. But the trade deadline is going to be interesting, I think, this year with them because I think they're in the hunt. I mean, they're definitely – I mentioned on one of those things on there, about getting in the playoffs and all that. And the fans are, oh, no, they're not even getting in the playoffs. It's
those are the Yankee fans I hate.
Yeah,
because their entire mentality about the team changes depending on what yesterday's result was.
Well, then earlier in the year, they were all bandwagon fans. They all got on and, jumped on. And we are doing this and we are going all the way and all that stuff. It's just crazy stuff. But I thought Cole looked good. Nestor pitched great the other day.
He did, but he got a loss because Max Fried pitched really great. So
he was great.
What are you going to do? Nestor goes 7 innings, gives up 3 runs. I don't even remember how many strikeouts he had, 6 or 7 or whatever, and 3-1 loss. Okay, hey, tip your cap to Max Fried. Max Fried is one of the best pitchers in baseball. He pitched a great game. That's all you can do.
Just quickly, too, and I know you don't have much time, but I was thinking of you the other day. I was driving up by the airport, and you were asking about the old Heritage Park.
Yes.
There's real. I think I mentioned before, there's really no remnants of it. But basically, to make it clearer, there used to be a radar, like an airport radar thing that you could see.
Yeah, down the road.
Stand. Yeah, you could see it from the stands, and it basically, more or less, a road goes through where a lot of it was.
Was that 155? I think it was.
Sounds it might be 155 or something. Yeah. But it's really, really strange. It's sad, but
what's there now? I mean, I'm assuming they just tore down a stadium.
Yeah, there's nothing there.
Oh wow. Okay.
There's a road in this field, and
then why tear it down?
It was a good stadium.
I mean, what the hell? High school teams could play there anyway. I mean, why not? I mean, I don't know why tear it down.
Nice.
Unless they just didn't want to pay to maintain it.
Well, and the main reason the Yankees left was because of clubhouse facilities and drainage facilities and all these things. And
yeah, the facilities were crap. They were.
Yeah,
I'm not going to sit here and defend them. They were garbage.
But I'm still having fun watching the Valley Cats in the Frontier League up here, over in Troy, and we see some pretty good players come through there.
It's a fun league. My man Kay Moran is up there. I know he goes to a couple of those games every year, so he's a Valley Cats fan. I know that.
Yeah, we have a 6-pack, what they call a 6-pack, 6 games We go with friends of ours, but it's really fun. But anyways, I just wanted to say that briefly about the Yankees. And now they play the Mets, and the Mets are playing better, and they go to City, right, for 2 games?
Subway Series starts tomorrow night.
Well,
It'll be fun. Who's pitching? Peterson for the Mets tomorrow. I don't even remember who's pitching for the Yankees.
Isn't it Cole? Might be Cole.
It could be Cole. I think the Yankees have the pitching advantage in both games. Heel is pitching the second game for the Yankees. I know that.
Yes.
And after what just happened against the Orioles, I'm sure that the Yankee coaches have been going over video with Heel because there was a lot of talk after that game with the Orioles that Heel was somehow tipping his pitches.
Yeah, and like Rob said to you before, you predicted this pitching thing, and I heard that too because I always listen, I always catch up, but like you said, they might just take him out for a while.
Well, he's a guy. Like I said, he's coming off an arm surgery. He's already closing in on 100 innings, and I can guarantee you, he is in no way going to pitch more than 150. So how do you manage that? Do you shut him down now and wait for an injury down the road? Because there's always going to be another pitching injury. We all know this. But he's going to have to ramp up again. And there's danger in that, in having a guy ramp up and go through all that stuff. Because then he's pitching innings, but you're not counting them. Like if Heel goes to if they shut him down for a month and then they say, all right, well, we need you to ramp up again and go pitch 2 or 3 rehab starts. Well, maybe it's not a major league inning, but it's still innings. Right, and they don't count those, but the arm counts them.
My parting shot to you would be this. I was sad to see what happened with Stanton the other day. He was doing pretty well.
He's doing well this year. He's got 18, 19 home runs. I mean, we're at the midway point. The Yankees have played, I think, 80 games. So he's looking at a 35 home run season. But now he said he's going to miss a month. I don't know if you saw the replay or if you saw the when it happened.
I saw it live.
I've never seen anybody running that slow pull a hamstring.
Yeah, I said to my wife, we were watching it live. I said he just grimaced coming around third.
Yeah,
he didn't really pull up. He just kind of grimaced.
No, and then he ran home, and it didn't look like he decelerated in any way at all. I was like, he just ran. Like I saw the same thing you did. It looked like he took like one uncomfortable looking stride, and you saw like the little look on his face, and I'm like, uh-oh.
Yep.
And then he scored, and I'm like, well, wait a minute, he doesn't look like what's going on?
How does he score if he's hurt?
Well, but I mean, I thought maybe he just tweaked something, and now they're saying a month, and I'm like, how? Like, how is that even possible?
And what I really liked about Stanton throughout his time there, I know he's been injured a lot, but especially this year, if you watch him in between, he's studying stuff. He's always, talking to other guys. He carries himself very well for all the ways as I call him, the quote-unquote fans bash him.
No, they bash him all over the place.
He carries himself very well, and he's a professional.
He is. He's a leader in that clubhouse. I mean, Judge has become the leader, but it's he gets a lot of help from guys like Stanton and Rizzo, and I don't Rizzo's definitely not going to be back next season. Stanton, I don't think they're going to be able to get rid of the contract unless they eat some of it, but. He's a guy who's I think he doesn't say much in the media, but I think in the room, I think he has a lot of sway.
Here's my prediction: Verdugo finds his way at I almost said Shea at City.
You could say Shea. I still call it Shea. It's 20 years, or 15 years.
Me too, Rob. Hey, look, guys, have a great day. It's always a great
Thank you, Joe. Thanks
for
checking in. See you next time.
Take care. Bye-bye.
90.3 WHPC from the press box. I'm Rob Leonard. He's Tim Leonard. If you still make a comment or question, if you have one.
Getting phone calls.
We can take one more. 516-572-7440. Coming up at 10 o'clock, Big Ed Newland's Good Gold. I hope you'll keep it on. So anyway, brother, we didn't talk about Diaz, right?
No, it was Diaz.
Yeah, he's going to get suspended because they said he had foreign substances on his hand.
Sticky stuff.
The sticky stuff. He claims it's rosin.
Rosin and sweat.
Yeah, but is it sticky?
I don't know. I mean, they had a picture of his hand.
Yeah,
his hand looked like it had a lot of stuff on it.
Yeah, it did.
But station manager Sean Novak told me I knew the Mets had one more because Max Scherzer, but he also reminded me that Drew Smith had also been suspended. So of the 8 pitchers who have been suspended by Major League Baseball for sticky stuff, 3 Mets. Conspiracy theorist, brother, would say that MLB has it out for the Mets.
No, they have it out for Steve Cohen, not the Mets.
Well, whatever, whoever.
He's rich.
Mets, Steve Cohen, same thing.
Oh, yeah, I guess.
The umpire who first of all, this is what I want to know, and I don't get this at all. You eject a pitcher from a game before he's even thrown a pitch.
Right.
So why didn't the umpires just say, "Look, Edwin, your hand. We got to do something here because this is not going to fly. You're all sticky, whatever." Diaz, to his credit, says, "Look at the glove. Look at my pants. Look at my hat." Nothing. There was nothing. The umpires even confirmed there was nothing on his uniform that suggested that he had a foreign substance. So why not just say, "Hey, go get a towel or go wash your hands"?
Right.
Something. Get the crap off your hand and let's play ball. But then the umpires could also say, "Look, we are reserving the right to check you during the inning, and if your hand is like is like it is now." 2 batters from now or 3 batters from now or whatever, you're gone.
I agree with that.
And I don't understand why that didn't happen.
It's prevention, but the
But
problem
he hasn't thrown a pitch.
I know that's the problem.
How do you reject somebody from a game who's not in the game?
I agree. He's not technically in the game yet. A couple of things before our show ends. The New York Liberty will be hosting the championship game of the. I don't know why they have this. The Commissioner's Cup. Presented by Coinbase. It's going to be at the UBS Arena.
We don't care about sponsors, brother.
Yeah, whatever. The UBS Arena in Belmont Park.
That's not a place, brother. I put that in there to mock them.
Oh, okay.
The league that is based in New York, says that their championship Commissioner's Cup game is going to be held in Belmont Park, New York. That's not a city.
I know that.
Come on.
Anyway, it's going to only be exclusive on Prime. That's what's the hottest ticket right now in sports? Women's basketball, and only available on Prime. Come on, guys.
It's not smart.
Not smart. And then the NBA,
the reason the game is at UBS is because the NBA draft is at the Barclays Center this week, starting Wednesday night.
Oh, I'd love to go there and hang out.
We should. You want to go?
I would. You know what I'd love to do? Just hang out with all the Brooklyn people who show up.
Let's go.
Because they know there's.
I haven't been to a draft in a long time.
I know. I remember Tim Leonard used to go down. What was the hotel in Sheridan?
The Grand Hyatt.
The Grand Hyatt. Yeah, so anyway, that's on Wednesday. Second round is on Thursday. Hawks have the first pick, but this is not going to be a great draft.
No, there's good players, but there's no LeBron, there's no Wembayama,
right.
There's no absolute top guy. Actually, the two top guys in the draft, they're both Frenchmen. Alexandre Sarr is a center, and Zachary Risache maybe, shooting forward. And Sarr played in Australia last year.
Okay, are you? Gotta read this, brother. Are you a proud member of the Nassau Community College alumni? Find out more information about the Nassau Community College Alumni Association. For more information, please visit ncc.edu/alumni. That just about does it for our show, brother. This show becomes a podcast later on. My name is Rob Leonard. He is Tim Leonard. Thank you for listening. Big Ed's coming up next. Please keep it tuned here at WHPC. Take care and bye-bye.